The Beaver. Welcome back, everyone. So tonight, it's Hacktoberfest. There are PRs, there's stuff to review, things to fix, stuff to push out. I was hoping to do something with try.net tonight, but I was trying to prep for the stream a little bit earlier, and I'm just apparently too dumb to figure it out. So I sent some messages. There may be some try.net stuff in the near future, because it looks cool, but I'm clearly just too dumb to figure it out. So I want to be able to demo actually Hello World before I dive in and start streaming it. So we'll circle back to that. Tonight I figured I would dive into the material design and XAML stuff. There's a bunch of things out there. There's a couple interesting things with like dependabot and pipeliney things that I want to show and do. So let's dive in. Oh, before we get too carried away. It is Hacktoberfest, and I would be amiss if I didn't plug Hacktoberfest. So, Hacktoberfest is here. So, wonderful time to jump in, work on open source stuff. The whole idea is just to get people who may not otherwise contribute to open source diving in and working on it. Some colleagues and I were actually just discussing the value of people having some sort of like open source contributions, especially kind of as a resume thing to show off what you can do. My personal opinion is it's not required, but it doesn't hurt any job application if you can point to your GitHub profile and some repos or some pull requests that you've done just to kind of show the type of work that is in here. So it is free. First 40,000 people to get their 4 PRs in and accepted. They'll either plant a tree in your name or send you a t-shirt. Why am I missing? Oh, participation. That's the magical link. The big start hacking thing is where you want to go to connect it up to your GitHub account. Yeah, and so they give you some nice pointers. You just need to have 4 pull requests merged. And they don't even need to be merged. If the maintainer of the repo, if it's good work, but it's just not a convenient time to merge the PR because of like timing and releases or whatever, they can just slap like an accepted label on it and count it as in. But I figure people have been opening up PRs on other repos, so I figured I would try to get some of those closed because I want people to get credit for the work that they're doing. There is where is it? There's a great link down here. Yeah, guidelines, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Avoid submitting low quality pull requests, yada yada yada. There is a link, and I'm trying to remember it. It was in here before. Is it upforgrabs.net? Thought there was a better one. Oh, no, this is it. Yeah, so upforgrabs.net. So if you're looking for something to contribute to, this is a wonderful site that just does an aggregate of different repos that have opted in. You can filter by language, by framework. These are provided by the repo maintainers, so there's not a lot of consistency. And like, for example, you can see that there's Netcore, CLI, Net Framework, Net Standard, Netcore. Like, clearly some of these things probably should be combined, but whatever. So you may poke around and look for similar things rather than just the one string. So there's a bit of that. Okay. So let's jump in and take a look at the material design stuff because there's a bunch of things in here. So first thing I'm going to point out, there's a whole bunch of these bump PRs from dependabot. So I went on a dependabot craze a little bit ago and went crazy. So here's the wonderful thing. For people who aren't familiar with dependabot, it's this wonderful service on GitHub that will go through, check your dependencies, and submit PRs if they're out of date. This is awesome, right? Because how many times have you realized, oh shoot, my NuGet package dependency is out of date? Or heck, the GitHub actions that I am doing are out of date. Because as far as I know, like for example, if you write a GitHub action and like actions upload artifacts, this is currently on version 2. Great. How do I know when version 3 comes out? You don't. You have to just check. There's not like a package manager for these things like there is with NuGet. Like NuGet's at least a little bit easier, and like even NPM, where you could go through and it's like, oh, show me my updates. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing like that for GitHub Actions, except for dependabot will do it for you. And it'll do better. Rather than just showing you what has updates, it'll just open the PR for you, which is awesome. And especially if you have a pipeline that you trust, I think what we're going to do is we're going to take it a step further and actually just auto merge the PRs. But I do want to fix some of them because it does look like we've got some problems. So a couple things. This one here, pipeline passed. Here's the easy thing. Squash merge, we're done. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Some of the other ones look like they are problematic. The XAML test one should be fine. The other thing that's really cool is dependabot will automatically rebase for you as it sees things going in, which is just awesome. And if you want, there's a whole bunch of, we'll call it chat ops commands, where you can just post comments adding dependabot, telling it to what to do. And like, this is just slick, right? So you can come in here and say, yeah, go ahead and do this. Or if you get something and you go, yeah, dependabot, thank you, but I don't want this. You can tell it to just shut up on something. Like this, and especially with how simple it is. So real quick, there's docs on all of this stuff. But if you're on a .NET project, I might submit that you use something very similar to the following. All this does is say, hey, check my NuGet dependencies, check my GitHub Action dependencies, check them at least on a weekly interval, because I don't care if I'm 6 days out of date. That's not a big deal to me. A couple months, that's a bigger deal to me, right? So check it on a weekly schedule. And then typically the location of the package manifest, you can just leave this defaulted to /, and that's all there is to it. And that's it. So unless your project needs something special into it, there's a lot more options on here. If you want to tell it, yeah, I want dependabot, but please ignore the following packages or that kind of thing, there's extra options for that. You can turn that kind of stuff on. Okay, so let's come in here. We are going to merge this stuff in, and we're just gonna start closing PRs. Burn some stuff down here real quick. Okay, we're gonna adjust that, adjust this. What's going on here? So fix color picker thumb jittering when dragging. Yes, I am aware of the jitteriness. That looks rather nice. Okay, for UI changes like this, I absolutely love it when people like record videos or motion GIFs or similar, because this is really cool. Okay, so we're gonna check the change. Oh, interesting. Huh. That is cool. That is a remarkably simple change. So we're going to mark that as approved. And then I want to look at why this thing failed the build. Does this have anything... dragging the thumb changes brightness. Ooh, so this test is actually related to this failure, which makes me immediately suspect. Okay, let's pop open our dear friend GitKraken, and we may circle back. So, GitKraken has a feature that came out in 8.7, 8.8, somewhere in that range. They allow for single sign-on. With a variety of providers, but the one that interests me is Azure Active Directory. So at some point, we're going to do a video on setting that up, probably within the next week or two. So I don't know if I'll live stream doing that or if I'll just record it and put it on YouTube. So, but there will be something like that in the works. Okay, so here, let's see, what is our PR? Let's see, 28.95. Pull requests, collapse, 28.95. So, let's see, add and checkout, please. Okay. For anybody not using GitKraken, that it just has a quick right-click option on the PR list for adding the PR submitter's fork as a remote, and then automatically checking out their branch locally. Interesting. I wonder why they... Oh, did I grab the wrong one? I just realized there is 28.94. That was the one I was looking at, right? Oh, 28.95. Ah, they've submitted multiple PRs. I should... Oh, 28.94 is the bug. 28.95 is the PR. Oh, okay, I get it now. I'm just confused. Counting's hard. Counting is hard. Did I close my Visual Studio? I guess maybe I never had it open. Okay. Go gadget. I think this is all fine. 28.96. So yeah, because this is the change we just looked at. That's fine. So I want to look at the UI test that broke, and let's just fix it real quick. Let's come in here. That's not where I want to be. I want to look at the checks and details, and let's take a look at what test failed and why. So where's my failing test? Where's my failing test? That one. Dragging the thumb changes brightness. Okay. And then go gadget changing thumb. Okay. And for anybody interested, the work that I was doing on Cloud Squirrel for the system command line porting, I had a nice chat with the maintainer of that library earlier today. It sounds like that PR is going to move forward and get checked in. He was going to change up some of the structure of it just to make things work nicely, which I'm totally on board with. And then we'll probably do a few more changes in there. There's we were talking about that Scurriday project that I was working on, kind of taking some of the functionality that's in there and moving that into Cloud Squirrel. I don't think everything makes sense to move into the library because like the web service is fairly opinionated, which is fine. It's my opinion, my service. It gets to be my way. But some of the basic stuff about being able to easily build a package when running .NET Publish, something like that seems to be a very nice way of doing it. Okay, so this is running. So this isn't actually a UI test. Ooh, this immediately makes me terrified. Okay, so we'll run the test and just confirm that this thing fails locally. But when I see STA fact like this, so what this is doing is it's running the an XUnit test, but the STA fact changes the thread that runs this test to being a UI thread, a single threaded apartment, which is fine, and it's how we used to write tests against UI controls. The problem is it doesn't work great. Yeah, it's not. You end up having to simulate everything that WPF is going to do for you. Okay, so that test does in fact fail. I just want to run all of the color picker ones. Okay. It's interesting to me that this dragging thumb changes saturation, but dragging brightness one failed. Brightness 1 is not less than 1. Okay, so let's take a look and see what it is. But I do want to compare it between these two because this seems very similar. So it starts the color on red, okay? drags thumb. Let's see. It does a vertical offset going negative the top of the brightness picker thumb. Let's see. And then while brightness. It's interesting to me that we have this while loop. What is this going to do exactly? Drag thumb, current brightness. And if current brightness is not less than last brightness. Okay, let's step into this. I'm kind of curious how many times this thing iterates, if any. I'm also curious what the constructor of this test is doing, because it's doing the setup. So it creates a color picker, applies the style, does an arrange pass, setting up the available size to be 400 wide, 100 tall. So we've got kind of a rectangle-y thing going on. We grab the slider, we grab the saturate brightness picker and the brightness picker thumb. Okay, with you so far. And so we're basically going to take that thumb and slide it down. Okay, so last brightness 1. Brightness picker has a height of 64. Sure, so it's not able to fill all of that for whatever reason. Great. Get top. Drag thumb. Let's see. So it is setting the top of the thumb, adjusting by the vertical offset. So it's pushing down. Okay. And then it calls into get the current brightness, which remains at 1. And so it doesn't iterate at all. What is the color here? Interesting. Okay, so let's back this up. Set next statement. Okay. The color is there. Interesting. So after we did... Wait, what is this doing? So it's dragging the vertical offset opposite the top of the thumb. I'm very confused as to... So in reality, the bug occurs here. Saturation, brightness, picker, thumb. Okay, I need to just fire up this picker and look at it, because something seems very off to me. And I'm just too dumb to figure out what it is. Okay, so let's go take a look at the color picker. Custom. So this is the color picker here. Okay. Wait a minute. Saturation, brightness, picker, thumb. Why? Just me, or am I not seeing that? And now I'm blanking on if there was a feature to turn that on or off. Okay, so let's look at the theme for it. Color picker. So I'm wondering if that's part of the problem. We can actually just do this. Saturation, brightness picker, thumb, part name. I want this control. Find me my control. Okay. Color picker horizontal. Color picker vertical. Saturation, brightness picker. There's something. Use slider position. Is this thing making a weird assumption on where that is? I'm just trying to understand how this test. Am I just missing something? Let's see. Color changed, HSB. Use slider position. Saturation blind. Color picker vertical. We aren't on color picker vertical. We are on color picker horizontal. Okay, so we are here. There's the hue slider. There's a dock panel. There's a grid. There's a grid that contains panel. The thumb exists in the middle of the panel. This guy here. And for whatever reason, when we run that test, that is completely messing up the color. Okay, so that's the problem. Something about this guy here is doing something horrible to the color property, and I don't know what. Let's see. Let's find color changed callback. So we're just going to grab it here. Let's run it here and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Because we should hit that other breakpoint one first. Yeah. And if we look at this guy here, not dependency options, I want to look at the new value on E. Okay. That tracks. For those people not familiar with reading ARGB values, that's alpha, red, green, blue. So alpha is FF, which means fully opaque. And then red is FF, which means all the red is all the way up. And then G and B, blue and green, are both down at 0. Green and blue. That makes sense. So we have this. This here changes it into FFFFFFFF, which is clearly wrong. So now we run backwards up the call stack. See who the heck went crazy. So HSB, let's keep going here. Saturation, brightness. Top. 1 minus 0 over, so 1 minus 0 going to end up at 0. So top here ended up being, so on apply thumb position. Oh, this mouse get position is problematic. Ah, that's why it is failing, because my mouse is not actually over that. So the position of the mouse cursor, is going to be 0, and it's probably always going to be 0. That's fun. Trying to decide if we even fix this. part of me just wants to go through and write this as a XAML test instead. Might just do that. Let's do that instead. We'll just port this test over. So this is one of the reasons why I wrote XAML test, is because writing this unit test is really bloody hard. Because this is requiring like mouse interaction and all the other WPF stuff, which just doesn't work well. Okay, so let's do here, color picker. Let's go add color pickers, and then I think we just do add new class. You know what? Maybe I should start flattening these. I don't know if they... Might be worth just flattening some of these. Not sure it makes I'm not sure it's adding much value having this nesting, so I'm going to start it. Okay. Color picker test. Go here, and then if we look at some of the one, we're going to clean that up real quick. You can go public. Okay, so if we take a look at one of the other ones, you can see we've got this common test base class that most things derive from. Just add some little helper setup. Or grab that, and then fix the name of the constructor. There, boom, boom, boom. Okay, now we got some reasonable test output, and then now we can go through and write a test that, yeah, we're just gonna do a fact. So you know, these ones, XAML test ones don't need the UI thread. In fact, they shouldn't be on the UI thread. Instead, they end up spinning up a whole version of the app, which is both good and slightly terrifying. Okay, so this test base class does a couple really helpful things for us, specifically things like load up material design, so that I didn't want to think about doing that, because XAML test doesn't know anything about material design. So I just wrote a little extension method that imports it and made a base class so that all my tests could leverage it. So by the time we get to this point, we've already gotten to that. We've already gotten to the point where it loads up material design. Do you code often here? If here means Twitch, I code here once a week. So mostly because that is all my family schedule can support. Okay, so we're going to change this up. We're going to go material design. We're going to do color picker. I'm trying to decide if we really need to do much beyond just that. And then the root control here is going to be a color picker. And away we go. I'm going to bring this down to another line just so it's easier to read. And then we're going to mimic a little bit of what was done on the old tests. So, for example, it was sizing it to 400 by 100. So we'll just mimic that. So width gets 400. Height gets 100. Don't need any that garbage. Yeah. And then we're going to go var thumb gets. We should really rename this to color picker. And we're gonna go. Spelling is hard. Color picker get element thumb. And I think we are going to do element query name, and then I believe we made it public. Color picker dot was the hue part slider name that we were leveraging, right? No, it was the saturation brightness. That's right, the hue one. Okay. Let's see, element query. Query string. What am I doing right here? This just needs to get down. Come on, dude. Element query. Oh, it should start with an of type and then just dive in. Actually, that should be fine. Type query, property expression. Actually, I guess we can just there's a reason I don't know the syntax, because it's simpler. I can just pass it the name and be done with it. Okay, so that'll get me the thumb. And then the test that was being done previously, it was grabbing the current brightness and then working its way backwards. So I'm gonna just clear this out, because actually we don't need any of that garbage. Get rid of it all. Okay, so we want to do something equivalent to here. So we want to do, let's see, color picker, get color. Oh, and it's not exposing it. So I shall explain. So this color picker right now, if we look at it, it is of type iVisualElement of color picker. You'll note all of these things that are on here now, the vast majority of these methods are extension methods. So you can see if we filter by just real methods, there's not that many. But if I turn that off and say show me extension methods, there's a ton. And these extension methods are going to look really similar, because these are things from like framework element, UI element, etc., all the way up and down the hierarchy. What is missing from here are the actual properties on the color picker class itself. How those methods get generated is XAML test has a source generator that it uses to generate out all of the extension methods for a given type. So if we want to add in the color picker one and say, please generate me more stuff, we do that. And now we have extension methods for color picker, which is just frankly awesome. Okay, we're gonna come here. I'm gonna flatten that file scope namespace, clean up the usings, and away we go. Okay, so now I should be able to go color picker, get color. Huzzah, there's my color. Okay. So color. Custom Windows Media, we'll do that. Oh, and this needs to be awaited, because all XAML test calls are async. And so we will do double last brightness. We can now do, but it's going to be color here. Then we need the extension method for 2HSB. Okay, that much works. And then this whole thing here is just dragging that thumb down. So it's grabbing the top. And while the I don't know if this is trying to decide if this is relevant or not. Like, do we really need the loop, or do we just need to drag it down and verify? I kind of feel like we just drag the thumb down and call it a day. Probably. Thumb. Oh. Right after I finished saying we needed to await all the things. Okay. So we can move the cursor and do the click. I'm just trying to decide if I want to simulate the down, the actual mouse dragging, or if I want to. I think I probably do. And let me look, because I'm trying to remember where the API is for it. I think you have to go somewhere else. Because I know I added. Let me look. I can't remember where I put it. Yeah, sure. XAML test does have support for doing click and drag type stuff, but I don't know as if I've necessarily built out examples of it yet. So yes, I'm totally rabbit trailing. No, I don't care. Because rabbit trails are how we learn stuff. Why do I have all this pending stuff? Whatever. Let's see. So I'm looking for input, mouse input. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for, because I just really what I want to do is mouse down and then go through it. So send input is the magical incantation. Let's see. That's going to end up being on send mouse input test. This is what we want. Can't click through menus. Yeah, these methods. This is what I'm looking for. Left click. Got it. So this is what we want, is this guy. Send click. It's a horrible name now that I'm realizing it. Yeah, so this is effectively what we want to do, is send a mouse input with a bunch of stuff on it. So send input with a mouse input is really what we want to do. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so step one, we need to get the current location of the thumb. So thumb get, what's this? Get, I don't remember what the get coordinates. That's what I'm looking for. So rect thumb location gets weight there. Okay, and so we want to take the thumb, move it. In this case, the previous test did 10 pixels. We might go, I don't know, 20. The thing's 100 tall. And I guess to be fair, the thing did start, the previous test did default the starting point to red. So maybe we should do that too. So then what we're going to end up doing is sending, I guess, color picker, send input. Then we're going to need a mouse input. So M-O-U-S-E. What's up, Robert? I'm rabbit trailing. There was a PR. I wanted to approve it. There was a failing unit test. Didn't like the unit test, so I had to rewrite it in XAML test. That's not too far of a rabbit trail. I can still remember why I'm doing this, so my rabbit trail isn't too deep yet. Okay, and kind of just want to look at what I did over here. Not there, not there. Yeah, so effectively I want to do, kind of want to do something like this. Okay, so, oh, wrong solution. Back here. So really, I want to build something like this. So I kind of want to just do a click and drag, just being the perfectionist like always. Yes. Okay, so we're just going to do move to element. That's fine. We can do the collection initializer. That's fine. I think then what we're going to do is we're just going to do a move relative. Let's do X offset is 0, Y offset will be, I don't know, 25. That seems far enough. Okay. Oh, actually, we want to do a mouse input left down, right? So click and drag. So we need the click portion of that, the drag portion, and then we need to mouse input left up. Boom. That looks like a click and drag operation. Oh, move to element. We should probably give it an element. Doesn't it need an element? How does it know? Oh, it's going to know the element because we attach it when we do the send input. So we want this to be thumb. So send input. Yeah, so get rid of the return. We don't want to do color picker send input. Mouse input. You're not going to tell me I did something stupid like made the constructor internal, are you? Well, wasn't that dumb? I did hide it from me. Why did I do that? It's both brilliant and stupid all at the same time. Okay, well. Oh, I keep minimizing thinking I'm looking at the wrong solution. Okay, so I hid it from me because I past Kevin wanted future Kevin to do this. Move to element. Thumb. Oh, I'm already there. Move to element. And then past Kevin wanted to do the left down. And then past Kevin wanted to do move relative. And Y offset of 25. And then current Kevin thinks past Kevin might have been stupid. I don't know if that's necessarily easier. Whatever. Okay, and then we want to get current brightness. We're going to do that guy. Current brightness is going to end up being this thing again. Wait, paste. Oh, that's double weighted. Don't need too many weights. And then we're going to bring the assert out. Just drop that message down and do that. Okay. Step one. Let's see if it works. Because it'd be kind of cool if it did. It's also incredibly terrifying when you write a test like this and it works the first time. So it's actually comforting when it fails. Okay, well, it failed. So, comforted. Let's see how it failed. Okay, so what did you do? At what point did you fail? Expected true. Okay, so let's kind of test this. I think those are the breakpoints we want. So one of the coolest things about XAML test is even though it's starting up a separate WPF process, if you start your test with the Visual Studio Debugger attached to your unit test, it'll actually pause in the other process as well. So it'll auto hook your thing up. Okay, so that's cool. I now just have the small problem of I'm blocking myself because this window's over the top. I can't see what I'm doing. Sorry, one moment. Let's see. So try to do this sneakily. So last brightness, 1. Thumb location. I mean, that seems reasonable. I'm going to just pin those values so that they stay in the debugger. We're going to continue. And I'm noticing that my cursor did jump, but I assume it jumped here instead of moving over. And so I have a sinking suspicion what's happening is it's clicking here and going down, which is probably not going to work. So because we know that that thing's going to be in the corner, we're going to go with position bottom left. And I kind of want to just break here instead just to see where it sets my cursor. Because in theory, when we hit this breakpoint, that cursor should now be in the bottom. But because it's rounded, we might have to set an offset on it to shift, to kind of kick the thing up a little bit. We'll see. Mouse positions get to be a little weird at times. Interesting. So it thinks bottom left is right there. And really, we need it up here. Okay. So let's do copy, paste. So we're going to move relative. Y offset, I don't know, -5. And X offset -5. We'll see if that's enough to bring it. So I kind of want to just go back and up a little bit. And actually, maybe we should do -10 here. Let's see if that gets me closer to where I want the cursor to be. The other thing we can do is we can tell it to not pause the other process so that that window isn't hung too. There, that looks better. Now this is going to fail because I've moved the cursor and then I'm going to continue execution. But now what I want to do is I want to grab this. Yeah, so run the test now. It's still going to pause the process, but at least at this point it should have already done the drag. Okay, I mean, it moved it down a little bit. And I assume that probably passed, but it passed for kind of the wrong reasons. So I think what I'm going to do is wait, task, delay. Because there is a bit of a delay on that color picker binding. Where is it? One of these guys has a slight delay on him because of the slowness of converting from HSB to RGB. So I think what we're going to do, because this test is passing, but it's only passing because the thing is starting to move. It's not actually getting the full 25, and it'd be nice if we got consistent results. There. So you saw there the thumb actually made it all the way down. Okay, so I am going to come over here and I'm going to axe this test. And I'm going to put a note here to do many of these tests could be moved over to what's the name of it? It's material design something UI tests. Yeah, this one. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and we'll push this guy. So let's see, what all did we do real quick? Let's just check. So that's fine, cleaned up usings. New test, that's good. I don't really want any of those changes, so we're gonna throw that away. We added the generation of the extension methods for color picker. File scope namespace. To do on the test, deleted the previous failing test. Okay. Moving the failing color picker test to a xaml test. This is much more reliable. Okay, so we're gonna push that. Yes. Excellent. Okay, now when we come back here, this guy should be, yeah, so he should still be approved. Just make sure he re-shows an approve afterwards. And then I'm gonna auto merge it. And so assuming the CI test passes, that one's done. Okay. Next PR. Color picker, mouse move event only when captured with thumb. So same deal. Let's take a look at this. Color picker, mouse move event only with captured thumb. So this is a good thing to bring it up because this actually came up in one of the projects that I was working on during my day job. So the idea of mouse capture is important to understand in WPF. So most of the time, controls either they will receive mouse events based upon like where the cursor is. So in this case, for example, mouse move. And normally what would happen is if you register for that event, every time the mouse moves over your control, you're getting that event. The problem being is that oftentimes that's a lot and you don't want it. And so what will happen specifically in like drag operations is a particular control will capture the mouse, or there's keyboard capture as well. But the idea is to say, I am the focus control, give me the events, no one else. I have captured it, I am holding on to the mouse, I'm doing something, back off. So in this case, this looks fairly simple. So it's checking if the mouse is not captured, which is what the is null is doing, so effectively no capture, or the mouse is captured by something other than the thumb, fail. That is a perfect change. I think that's very appropriate. Okay, we're gonna slap this in the next milestone, squash merge. Trying to decide what to put on this. Enhancement? We'll just leave it. I don't know what to put on it. Cool. Yuio, I'm probably mispronouncing that. Thank you very much if you are watching this on a lot of these. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Fix data grid column bug. Okay, add type check to data grid columns for data grid 1 fixes this bug. Oh, I just realized something. Shoot, real quick. I didn't put the linked issues on those two that apparently I want to make sure the related issue makes it into the milestone as well. Yeah, see, it didn't. I'm going to move that in as well. Okay. That handled that. And then the other one is here. I want you to go into the milestone, and I want your related issue to go into the milestone. There. Okay, I think that covers them. Okay, data grid. So let's look at the bug first. So after upgrading from 4.5 to 4.6, I noticed a change in behavior of data grid. Data grid with a data grid template column containing a button that is bound to a command of the child VM. Before 4.6.0, the command execution was working fine on the first click of the button, but now the first click is ignored as if the row needs to be selected first. You can see it here. Yeah, I create a somewhat minimal repo. Okay, first of all, love. Simply because anyone who goes to the effort of making up a repo is immediately awesome. And then this guy here, interesting. So this one here is saying if the data grid column is a data grid template column. I almost want to push this a little further though. Like this will work in like 99% of cases. The one case that I'm thinking might still be missing is if somebody makes their own derived class of data grid template column. Do we care enough to handle that? Probably not. I think we're going to approve it, and I'm going to wait until that bug actually manifests before I do anything about it. So we're going to go there, slap you in the milestone. Let's make sure this goes into the milestone. I'm going to take the evaluation required label off, because not only was it fixed, and then auto merge. There we go. Look at that. Oh, auto merge is so wonderful. So wonderful. Okay, and create contributing MD. Okay, so a couple things I'm noticing. One, the fact that this was done in a branch that was named patch-1 likely means it was done from inside of the GitHub webpage. So if you just go in and straight up do this, I'm kind of guessing somebody went through and just is shooting for an easy Hacktoberfest PR. The problem is this, like, I'm not opposed to a contributing MD being added. This isn't it, though. I think we already actually have... Yeah. Yeah, more importantly, there is already a contributing guideline. Yeah. This looks like Hacktoberfest spam to me. Speaking of which... where's the maintainer section? Maintainers, what is the other one that you can use? Hacktoberfest labeled and any other invalid content. Reject spam by label them as spam and any other invalid contributions by closing them or labeling them as invalid. So I think we want to do that. We're going to do that, and then we're just going to close pull request. Oftentimes I just don't engage with potential spammers. Okay, let's address some of these problems here. Because these ones here, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. Wait, what? Like this thing just died in the middle of the run. Okay. So we're gonna do a couple things. One, the simple thing is tell dependabot to just go again. That's the easy thing. But I want to do one more thing. So I commented earlier that I've been on a dependabot kick. Something I did on one of my other repositories. So if anybody's interested, I have a thing for writing testing libraries and frameworks. I don't know why. I keep doing it. I should probably stop at some point. So this is just a library that lets you mock static methods. So you can think of it as somewhat in the same vein as like Microsoft Fakes. I'm trying to remember was it Rhino mocks that also supported statics? Pose was another one that allowed you to do it. They all approach the problem in slightly different ways. This one is based upon a library called Harmony that does runtime monkey patching of your method pointers. So when you invoke a method inside of .NET, what happens is the execution looks up in a method table and figures out, oh, that method is located over at this other pointer. Well, when you monkey patch, what you do is you go to that method table and you modify the pointer of where that method is, effectively letting you hijack any method you want. So it's not mocking in its more pure sense where you actually put in a replacement. This is actually hijacking the method for the entire runtime of your process. Slightly aggressive, slightly abusive. It can add for some really fun ways to crash your test runner. But if you're using it against your own code, or what I ended up using it for earlier this week was testing assembly attributes. Because I wanted to generate a test for both, is the assembly attribute present, is it not? And that would have been a pain in the butt to try to generate naturally. So it works like this. All feedback welcome. And actually, I think there is a PR here. Another one. Why are the actions paused? So reject, is it waiting for those? I don't understand why this thing is waiting. Action required. You're revealing an older attempt. View the latest attempt. Huh. I wonder why this is just queued. That's very interesting to me. I don't understand why it's queued. Huh. Hello, GitHub? GitHub? This progress bar is moving dog slow. OBS is uploading video just fine, so it's not the internet. Okay. I need to figure out a clean way of reject. I need to figure out a way to not do that. And then maybe this is just a matter of reject. Anyway, whole reason for coming in here. So this is actually probably a fine change. Yep. So we're gonna approve that. I'm gonna have to come through and figure out why this thing is not have any pipeline runs. But anyway, the dependabot bits. So I have dependabot enabled on this repo as well, very similar to what we saw earlier in the material design project. But the other thing I also did is I added in, where is it? Down, this. So this little job here, all it does is it waits for the build to complete. And if the build succeeds and it's a dependabot PR, it auto merges. So I don't even have to review it. If dependabot opens the PR and the pipelines pass, we send it. I like this idea a lot. I like this idea a lot. So let's go back to latest on material design. Make a branch, solution items. I think we've got it under here. Let's see. PR verification. I think we run it here. So we're going to make this thing depend on build. And we can just do this since it's an individual item. Make sure that is set up. And then we'll just auto merge. And I see no reason not to. Okay. Let's see. Enabling auto merge for dependabot PRs. So we're gonna, oops. Okay. Now we have a lesson in how to fix your Git mistakes. So I was on master. I accidentally made a commit. I have it pushed, so there's a very simple fix. So step one, create the branch now. So let's see. Add, how about dependabot auto merge. We'll make a branch. Great. And then I'm going to switch back to the master branch, and I'm just going to drag it back where I want it to go. And in this case, I'm going to go down to reset and say hard. So reset hard just tells Git, pick my branch pointer up, put it on this commit. Don't think. No thinking. I want my branch pointer here. Don't worry about changes between the commits. Don't evaluate anything. Just pick it up and move it. So now branch or master's back where it should be, and we will push this other branch up. Or actually, you know what we'll do? We'll just drag that other branch down to here, and we'll do the push and create PR for me button. Yeah, make it so. Then we're gonna go to GitHub, and then we're gonna enable auto merge on this guy. And we are off to the races. Okay, so that should run. Okay, that gets that going, and then we will deal with these other dependabot ones. The other thing I was thinking about doing is trying to get some of these other PRs up and ready. While we're waiting for that, I'm kind of interested in looking at this because I'm mildly concerned that this thing doesn't want to report progress and the actions don't want to trigger. Like the fact that this thing is just queued and sitting here interests me a great deal. It's only a single commit. I'm going to do something really quick. I just want to double check my account and make sure this isn't something weird where I've somehow burned through okay, so we're gonna take a quick look. I will just it's surprising to me that this shows 0. But I don't know what this is actually going against. Maybe it's possible that I hit a cap somewhere. I was hoping to see something about actions, but I didn't see anything here. So we might just go here. And I'm going to be mildly careful about what I click on so I don't accidentally display anything. Require approval for all outside contributors. Which is fairly standard. Like all of that is normal. The interesting part is I'm not sure how to, like I almost want to cancel it and like I don't even know how to cancel this. There was action required, and then rerun triggered, and it's stuck. How do I unstuck it? I wonder if I can unstuck it by kicking an empty commit to it. Let's try that real quick. So let's see, collapse, pull requests, all pull requests. So we're going to add remote and checkout. Okay, and then we are going to view all files here. Do that. Build commit, push. And I'm curious if that kicks it into gear. I wonder if something weird happened in the timing. Because that should cancel run. There. Failed to cancel workflow. I'm hoping that means the previous one was canceled already. Well, that one shows starting now. That makes me feel a little better. That now it's at least running. Okay. I have no idea how that thing got stuck like that. But hopefully that unstucks it. Okay, so we're gonna come back over here. Pull request. My other one merge yet? Oh, come on, hurry up! Hurry up! I've given you so much time. Go gadget. Setup job. Please tell me you're not still sitting on setup job. Build and test. That's better. Sometimes when GitHub is running and you try to view it in the middle, you end up not getting all of the previous stuff. You only get current going forward, which is kind of okay. Oh, I should check that regression one. Did I get milestone? Why is it my browser or is it? I'm losing trust in you, GitHub. You are making me not trust you. Okay, so those are running. That's running. It's perfect. Also, if you ever needed proof that you should run your build agents on Ubuntu, this project has convinced me of the slowness of Windows agents, which the run times are laughable. I need to figure out how to cancel. I need to find a way. Maybe we'll do that while we're waiting for this thing to go. Let's see. GitHub Actions. Auto cancel. Deploy. Like I want to be able to cancel the deployment. I want to cancel a deployment if it sits for too long. This is auto cancel other runs, which isn't bad. This has been archived, so that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. You know what I should look at? Let's take a quick look at the GitHub CLI, for people who may not have seen it, is actually a rather awesome little tool. So if anybody is interested, for all things interacting with GitHub, it's just a very clean CLI for being able to pull stuff in. Oh, and they've got an updated release, all kinds of other fun stuff. Sit on here so that I can see when that merges. This PR should finish as well, so we're going to leave that open. Okay, so I'm wondering if there is something about workflow, deployments. List workflows, run a workflow, view. It's not quite what I want. Manage releases, no. Big, at least I don't think that's what I want. Environment for a Well, I am behind for several versions, so we should take a look at the view installation instructions real quick. I don't remember what's the easiest way. Did I do Mac, Windows? I can't remember if I did this with Chocolatey or what. Choco lists local only, I think. And it's just GH, so that's not it. WinGit, don't remember the CLI for you. How do I list your local stuff? Yes. I just want to list my local packages. Did I install the GitHub? I did install the GitHub CLI here. So I want to do this guy. This is the problem, is when you have too many ways of installing stuff, you lose track of things. Whoop. UAC prompt. Okay. Oh, auto merge is in. Delete branch. That thing is in. Great. Great. Okay, so auto merge is in. So now I want to look at actually fixing these builds. So the simplest thing to do is we tell dependabot, go again. And the nice part is now that that pipeline has been updated, because you'll note as soon as I made this comment, dependabot immediately gives me a thumbs up and says, I'm on it, boss, and takes off, which is like, okay, dependabot, go gadget, do your thing. It is also very possible that these two PRs, the one thing dependabot's really bad at is if two dependencies need to go together, it doesn't know that. It just knows you've got two updates, and the relationship between them is completely unknown. Okay, so that should kick off a couple more runs. There's the first one. Okay, so I'm going to be curious if this thing passes or not. So if we look back at the material design project, when I told it to rebase, what it ended up doing is, you can see master is here. It took the two dependabot branches and rebased them, effectively started them off of master again. So I don't need this branch anymore locally. Go away. Let's see, I don't need the remote anymore. Remove. We're gonna let this guy run. And then with any luck, what's going to happen is these dependabot PRs, if they pass now on this next run, which there's a chance because the last run, the errors were, we died randomly in the middle. But what should happen is without me even needing to click the auto merge button, it should auto merge, which is just so awesome. Which means in the future, as PRs get opened and versions get updated, dependabot will just do its thing and GitHub Action will auto merge it. And then my nightly release of material design and XAML will just automatically kick out releases, which is mwah. It makes me very, very happy. Just want to check here. The icon update is still flowing smoothly. Let's see, run icon generation. Great, perfect. Because we've got multiple things that all do automation stuff for this project, and I've been slowly automating myself out of a job, which has been perfect. Okay, so come here. That's the master build rolling. That's fine. Build and test here. Sorry, hearing noises behind me. Okay, there's that, there's that, there's that. Come back here. Okay. GitHub CLI, do you have coolness for me? Because I would like to look at something regarding something regarding canceling a deployment. That's what I would really love. Rerun a failed run. Okay, so this thing is failing where? Okay, so it failed again, which is fine. Let's see here. What did you fail on exactly? Determining packages to restore. Oh, so these two projects are interdependent on each other. That's disappointing. Okay, so two solutions. I think the easiest is we're going to do this. We're going to do it like this. So we're going to go back to master, dependency update. Boom. Okay. We're going to just manually update these because I think the problem is that they just both need to be updated together. Close all but this. Updates. Let me guess, you're going to find two. Hypothetically. Ooh, three. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, and then I want to look at what that, which one of those dependencies is it squawking about on that install tab. That usually means something is been flagged as obsolete, which is usually what that means, but we'll get this all going. Could be one of the previous ones that we just updated, but come on, update, do your thing. Okay, so which one of these things are you yelling about? You done? Okay, so community toolkit composition. I don't know what this project is used for. I think this thing can just be straight up uninstalled, but we will check here in a moment to confirm. Let's make sure that thing builds just fine. So that is specifically the resource gen project, which I think that's fine to remove. I think that one's fine. Let that build for a moment, and then we will see about clearing some other stuff out. Okay, build succeeded, so that was easy. And then this one here, where is this used? This is used in the UI test, so this should be an easy change out as well. So we're going to use the community toolkit MVVM. This is just going to go into the UI tests. So we'll install that one, and then we'll drop the other one, and that should clean up all the warnings on here as far as the dependency issue. This guy here, uninstall. I think that other one will end up just being a namespace change, if anything. Okay. But this guy here is probably going to have some unhappiness here in a moment, while he figures out what's going on. As long as that builds, I think we just push this branch and it will clean up all the dependencies. Come on. Build started. NuGet's going crazy as it's trying to do the NuGet restore of all the things. Okay, I'm going to close you because you've lost your mind, NuGet. Let's see. Package manager. you should just restore here in a minute, but it's probably having to rebuild for the bottom projects first. Yeah, so there goes colors. Now it's gonna do themes, then it'll probably do demo, and then it'll probably compile. Yeah, there goes demo. Okay, so this one here has a problem because that no longer exists. Those don't need to be there. This doesn't need to be here. Let's see. Let's see here. We can clean this up significantly if we want. So for anybody interested, I did a stream a while back on this library and all of the awesomeness that it is. So you'll note I'm just deleting code here for a minute. We're just gonna delete some stuff. Yeah, the ability of this library to clean stuff up cannot be overstated. I don't know about you, but that's a heck of a lot cleaner. Looks a lot cleaner. I think it's a lot cleaner. Okay, so let's just run find all references. Show me what tests are actually using this. Just make sure that this thing, that this test actually passes now that we've done all of those changes to it. Hey, little green check marks. Yay, I win. Okay. Yeah, so just to be clear, if anybody is wondering if it's worth updating to the Community Toolkit MVVM library, this is what the view model used to look like. This is what it looks like now. Right? That's pretty good. It's pretty good. 19 lines. 5 of them are blank. And these ones could be on one line if we really wanted to condense some stuff. Like that's pretty slick. That is pretty slick. Cleaning up dependencies. Okay, so here's the other cool thing that, and I should start pull request, please. Merge conflict detected. Huh? Huh? I have a merge conflict. Oh, one of the PRs merged. Oh, look at you. Look at you, dependabot. So they had to go in a particular order. That's interesting. And left to its own devices, dependabot would figure this out and fix itself. That's cool. I'm not going to wait. We're going to rebase this onto master. I'll resolve the conflict myself. Save. Continue rebase. Let's see. Push. Force push. Yeah. And then we're going to just PR into master ourselves. And then we'll come in here and slap a milestone on that and enable auto merge. And that will push it through. But the nice part is the other stuff will go through. Let's see. This one I should be closed. Yeah. That closes. Let's see. Data grid. user clicks. Let's take a quick, while we're waiting for that to merge, let's just take a quick look at this bug. So the nice part is it looks like there was some evaluation done on it already. Okay, so let's look specifically at what was said here. So they've got a data grid row details template. Wait, they've got a data grid inside of a data grid? Yeah, so this is a data grid of a data grid, which is already making me kind of question a little bit. So the outer data grid here exists, and then they've set a rows detail template that the children of each individual row item get put into a data grid, and there's a checkbox column here. When a user clicks on the checkbox of any data grid that resides inside a row details template. Okay. So I have a strange suspicion the issue is this leaf. So it starts from here and works its way up. Because this is looking for a data grid cell. And it stops at the first one, so oh, that's interesting. Okay. Add new class. Data grid test. Let's just test it really quick, I guess. We can do this. Boom, boom, boom. Class. And then we're gonna do this. Color picker test. Come here, copy the constructor, paste that. There, and then we're just gonna grab the outer bit of the test. We're gonna come in here, we're gonna go boom, and we're gonna throw away all of this stuff. We don't care about any of it. And then we're gonna come over here. We're gonna grab this. Okay. We're going to make this a data grid. Make this a data grid. Okay. So this is going to do data grid. And I need the view models. These thingy-mabobbers. Something like that. Something like that. We've got nullable reference types enabled, so I'm going to do one of those maneuvers and call it a day. What's your problem? No argument. Again. Read-only observable collection. You know what? It doesn't matter whether it's a read-only one or not. Okay. Clean that out, and then data grid. Oh, heck. execute static I'm trying to remember, do I have access to the element here on remote executes? That took me to the wrong place. Oh, remote execute. Well, that's disappointing. So it'll let me invoke something remotely, but it won't let me... Huh. I was really hoping that would let me get away with something clever. Really hoping that would let me get away with something clever. Okay. About issue. Let's see. I want to check my PR real quick. Clean up dependencies. Still waiting. Okay. I wanted the issue number though. Close. This one. 2852. So I kind of want to start setting up a pattern for other people to see if they wanted to match this. Okay, so this thing here, we're going to paste in the data grid. That guy. Clean up the formatting just a little bit. Most of it's pretty good. Just that indentation makes me twitch a little bit. Okay, so that goes like that. That goes like that. Inside of here, do that. Let's see. User control portion. Let it be declared as partial. Clean that up. Clean that up. Come down here, and I'm going to put these classes as nested, just so they don't bleed into other stuff. Data context gets new parent, I assume. And let's see. Children gets a new child. Like that. What's your problem? There is no given. What a what? Oh. Do that maneuver. Subtly change it so that it converts into a initializer. Let's see. I don't think parent context. I don't think that's going to make a big difference. But we're going to do that just the same. For parent gets. We're going to end up having to do this a little differently in order to make that set up correctly. Parent dot children dot add new child. We're going to just do my parent gets parent. And I think I can ignore pretty much everything else. Slap a few of them in there and call it a day. Clever to name your files after the issue. Yeah, it's one of those. I haven't come up with a great solution for, like, I'd like it to be when people open issues that it's a very clear way of doing this. And I've seen people go down this path before. And there are some drawbacks to it. Like at a certain point, oftentimes issues become obsolete, especially older ones that, maybe there was an issue with an API that has since been removed or refactored or renamed such that the issue is no longer a valid complaint anymore. But I think I would rather deal with that problem. Okay. Data context gets parent. Okay, so we got that. I almost don't want this to be called data grid tests. I almost want to call it issue tests. Something like that. Issue 2852. Right, and then this becomes a lot simpler now because we just have what is it? Window. What is in my base class? Just deleted it. Oh, I have the load XAML method, right? Yeah. So rather than that, it should be load user control issue 2852. Oh, haha, that's kind of funny. Because I named them the same, it's not going to know the difference. I'm going to have to disambiguate it a little bit. There. Happy now? Await. I'm going to do that. Do that, and then I kind of want to give myself a nice little hook. So specifically down here, this allow Visual Studio attach. I kind of want to do something more like protected bool attach to remote process. It's cool. If we do something like that, get set. That way here I can do something like I guess I have to do it here, don't I? Huh, I just realized that is kind of an awkward situation because this is inside of initialize async. Oh, but this is async lifetime. That's fine. That should come after the constructor, which means I should be able to set a breakpoint here, debug. Yeah, and an issue number by itself is ambiguous and can be a hassle to view history of when you have many issues. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I haven't quite decided the cleanest way to go about doing it. And it's not necessarily like I would create one of these for every issue. But given that this library is all about theming and controls, most issues that come up probably warrant some sort of UI test-ish. Okay, so I have a data grid. So you'll note, even though I'm at a breakpoint, because I didn't attach the debugger, this window is now free to move around, which is a blessing and a curse. So what did I do wrong here? Oh, binding parents. This thing probably just needs to be bound like that because I don't want to think too hard. Yeah, that's probably cleaner. Close. Oh, when I renamed this, it didn't rename the file. And we'll see if I actually even end up keeping this file around. It's very possible that I end up throwing this away once we evaluate what the bug actually is.
But I will say I have found it very convenient to spin XAML tests up for testing things versus full apps. Interesting. Why do I not see any elements? Okay. Here's the other fun part. Because this is a full WPF app, we can, even though I launched it from inside of a unit test, I can slap Snoop on it, take a look. Which is really awesome. Okay, data grid, data context. So something is missing somewhere. Because this thing clearly has enough stuff. There must be something missing from this UI bit that I'm not getting. Okay, so path. Sort member path. Oh, so there's a display name member that's not being shown. The sort member path is selected. Oh, so wait, this one's an item source. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, I'm an idiot. Put this back to what it was. No, I still want this one to be binding of that, but it wants a collection of these parents, not an individual one. So I'm gonna do parent 1. Actually, parent 1. We'll just do 2 of these things and call it a day. 2. Copilot, you want to be cool for me? Thanks. That's what I wanted. We'll do that. Just implicit array, away we go. Call it a day. Okay, debug test. Not a what? What'd I do? Oh, hush now. There. Be happy. What does isAsync do in data grid bindings? That is a great question. So in this current setup, the isAsync doesn't do jack. So what it ends up doing, if we pull WPF, or actually, you know what? There's an easier way to get to the docs pages on this. We go here, 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 binding, F1. Yes. So first pro tip, F1 in Visual Studio, if you are on a type or something in a known framework where there's docs pages for, F1 will jump you to the docs pages, which is actually, in this case, useful. So the isAsync, so it's not necessarily specific to data grid. isAsync exists on the binding. And it just determines how the binding is going to get and set the values back onto it. So what I mean by, in my case, it doesn't do jack. It's because it's a one-way binding from the data context up. And I don't want it to retrieve that property asynchronously. So on one hand, asynchronous bindings can help free up your UI to make it feel more responsive. On the other hand, they can be slower. So there's a time and a place for them. I tend to use them somewhat seldomly. But there are, depending on what you're doing, these can be quite helpful, especially if, for example, a properties getter might be a little more expensive. Now, normally I try to make my properties fast, but if perhaps retrieving a property is going to take some time, you don't want the binding blocking while it's calling that getter. You want that to be asynchronous. Inside itself, it runs something like a task.run. Conceptually, yes. I don't think it's quite set up that simplistically, but yeah, from a conceptual model, if you were to write it yourself, yeah, something very similar. Of, hey, go out and retrieve this, but don't block my UI for doing it. Yeah, so, and you'll note here, this docs page down here calls out a good thing, because I see a lot of people thinking that setting is async is actually a good performance thing. It's actually the opposite, and generally a bad idea. So, one, you should never do something like this until you actually have a performance problem. Two, generally the solution of just making your properties not expensive. Like, so rather than the property getter being expensive, go do that work inside of a task.run or whatever where you control the threading and how that's going to be retrieved. Assign back into the property, raise property changed, and let the binding pull it when the value is ready, rather than making the binding be asynchronous and try to do all of that work. Okay. I hit F5, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Let's debug this test real quick. This one should now display data. Just want to replicate the bug. Okay, so now we've got data displaying. Let's go back and look at the... Okay, so he was very specific. Or I guess I'm assuming a he. JBooth was very specific. Allowed direct editing without focus is throwing an argument on range exception when the user clicks the checkbox of any data grid. So I should just click a checkbox. Ooh. I don't know what's going on, but my UI just froze. It's angry with me. In the MVVM model, shouldn't we control this behavior from the view model? Did you have to use is async in your work? The only time I can recall ever actually needing it is when, and arguably I shouldn't have done this, when I was binding to things that were outside of my control. And that was somewhat laziness. Usually wrapping those things up in a view model is a cleaner approach. So in general, no, you really shouldn't use is async. And yes, definitely control the behavior from inside your view model. That is my recommended approach. If for nothing else, for clarity. It makes the code easier to read rather than having this weird behavioral thing sitting outside. This is something cool coming. So again, I run Visual Studio previews for these things. The debugger windows got some kind of coolness coming. So just by hovering my mouse over this, it keeps tripping me up because before you could click on this button to get rid of them. And now just hovering, you can dive into like the settings, and they've made a lot of this stuff, or disabling, they've made a lot of this a lot more discoverable. So, for what it's worth. For whatever reason, I can't kill this breakpoint though, which is interesting, which makes me suspect there's a bug there. Okay, I'm trying to decide if that other thing crashed or not. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to disable this, await task, delay, time span from minutes. Hey, go. Dude. I feel like my Visual Studio's lost its mind. And we're going to debug this test again. Oh yeah, attached to remote process. True, that's what we want. Because I want to see if that thing actually throws an exception on the other side. Because last time all I saw was the process hang, and I don't know what that means. Boom. Something happened. Look at that. There's the exception. Index out of range. Okay. Okay, I want to change some stuff up with this. So one, this is getting annoying. Hurry up and die. Close the window. There, die. Okay, so that guy there is where the crash occurred, which is interesting that it's throwing on this new. Okay. I don't like this thing here. I kind of want to give myself one more protected property for like setting topmost. I think that's in here. Yeah, I'm just gonna add it just for simplicity. I'm gonna give myself a couple nicety protected rules. Make window topmost get set, because that's all these things are doing, is they're setting this up. Another question about MVVM. In your projects, do you strictly adhere to this concept? In our project, did not take the root model. Everything is placed in the view model. We got a VVM pattern. Is it a mistake? So I'm trying to understand the V. Oh, a view model pattern. That isn't necessarily a problem. It's hard because the answer is a lot depends on your app, and quite frankly, if you have a pattern that is in and working and the team is able to maintain and update the code, it's probably not that bad. The key thing I think most people always forget about is that code should be optimized for change. Like, the only thing that is consistent in most projects is stuff is going to change. And so if your code is unwieldy and difficult to change when new features come in and things slowly take longer and longer and longer to implement, that's probably an indication that something's wrong. Whereas if your code is quick, it's easy to change, you've got decent tests, and you're very confident when you make a new feature that, oh yeah, this is going to work great. And, you know, we didn't break any of the existing functionality. You're in a very good spot. So no, that isn't necessarily a thing. And the actual model portion of the MVVM isn't, it's kind of an ambiguous concept because it means everything else below the view model. Because on top, you've got your view. Directly underneath your view, you have the view model that's linked to the view via bindings and similar, right? Of pulling that stuff back and forth. So the command and binding interfaces go back and forth between those two. And then the model is kind of everything underneath it. And so in a lot of the apps that I have built, some people would say, you know, your view models should only support the view and you should move all the other logic that's not around that off into some other class. And that's a fine thing to say, but oftentimes that dogmatic adherence makes the app more complicated and more difficult to change, which is wrong. So is it a mistake? I'd say it's probably not a mistake, but I would tell you to evaluate how easy it is for you to add features or make changes to your code. And as long as you can do that, you're probably okay. Yeah, the rest of the logic has gone into additional classes. Then, honestly, that's probably just fine. I go back and forth, and it very much depends situationally on where the logic ends up being. So, for example, I was working on a WPF app last week. I was implementing a login feature for the application. So I didn't have to do any of the heavy lifting. It was OAuth stuff, but it was still a WPF application that had to interface with it and do all of that work. So I had There, the app starts up. There's a dialog that pops for the login screen that asks the user for some information. There's the button to click that sends the information out to the server to start the OAuth process, and away you go. The business logic for processing that login flow and interacting with the identity server, that I moved into its own class, wrapped all of that up, and put all of that there. The view model still had a decent chunk of logic, though, because it had to be responsible for making sure that, one, the right data got passed into the service. It had to make sure that if there was multiple concurrent login attempts, it had to cancel the previous ones and have all of that flow through and deal with the exceptions nicely. And some people would argue, well, hold on, that's beyond just supporting the view. Yeah, a little bit. But I also have tests over all of the cases that are in there. And everything that was documented in the user story as a requirement has a test for it. So I felt pretty good about it. As things have come up, we've been able to make quick changes to it. As the client has said, nah, we want to change this behavior. Great. I make a change. My tests verify that I didn't break anything else. Ship it. I was making Windows topmost. I got a little distracted. Okay, so I just need a topmost on these create windows. Let's see. So we're gonna go bool topmost. We're gonna just default that to true. Come in here. Topmost. And do the same thing up above. Because these things are, this is going to have to go here. That's going to be a little awkward of an API. I generally in C#, whenever I see optional parameters and a params on the same method, that always makes me twitch a little bit. Right now I'm just going to tell my twitch factor to turn off. Okay, topmost. There we go. Let's see. And so this is going to become make window topmost. Goes like that. And then make window topmost goes there. Why is create window with user control? Does it not have it? Oh, do I have? Wait, where were the other ones? Create window with. That one's there. Oh, I just missed one. For some reason I thought I was already looking at everything. Okay, so we're gonna do topmost there. Topmost. Okay. The fact that it showed a second one makes me fear that I've missed one somewhere. Create window with. Oh, this one. 0 references. Huh. Tempted to delete it. Also realizing well, no, hang on. One's generic, one's non-generic. Okay, kill it. We shouldn't need the non-generic. People should be specifying their root control type in all cases. Okay, that makes me feel better. Okay, so we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. Okay, make window topmost false, because I want to debug this and not have you sit on top. The reason for the topmost is largely for the pipeline. What is it complaining about? Could not copy. Okay, did you leave a process running? Usually when I see this happen, yeah, it's because a stray process has gotten loose. Okay, try again. It's interesting that happened. I thought I had cleaned those up such that shouldn't be possible. I guess it's still possible if there's a debugger attached. Okay, so there, click. So there's the crash, or this is the breakpoint. But this is what's failing? No, that worked just fine. But we came back around a second time. Oh, interesting. So we came back around. Oh, so we got in here twice. And the second call is what failed. On mouse. Allow. Interesting. Oh. Enable check. What registers up this? And I have a strange feeling that it's... I have a strange feeling, yeah, that this is probably... bubbling events from cells, even if the cell handles them, thus the true parameter. Ah, so this is probably... This is probably what's biting us. Because this was handled. Does it tell us? Yeah, so this is basically going to break. Specific argument was out of range parameter index. This exception is horrible. Current cell set. Yeah, so one of these guys. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple changes here because this is hard to understand what's going on. So we're gonna start with this. X name parent data grid. Just gonna make these easier to look at. No other reason. So what I'm pretty sure is happening is when you click on the child data grid, that left mouse button down is triggering. It's going from the cell, the data grid cell in the child data grid to the child data grid, then continues bubbling up because events in WPF, they tunnel down from the top. So they start at the window and work their way down to the element that's being clicked on. That's the preview left mouse button down. And then once it finds the element being clicked on, the left mouse button down bubbling event comes back up. But it typically, even though it bubbles all the way up, most things, if you register normally with just the plus equals, you'll only get unhandled events. So if something further down the tree handles it, you never see it. Technically, the event comes right past you, but the event is just kind of waving the white flag and saying, nope, I'm already been handled. You don't need to do anything. But in our case, we have explicitly said, no, I want handled things too. Enable edit box assist. And this is really more for edit box, but it is called checkbox assist. So when this is enabled, it's coming in. Can we just do something simple? Like, I'm kind of wondering, data grid cell. Because we really kind of want to not handle this for any cells that aren't ours, right? So the original source data grid cell, I almost want to do a check right here and just go Well, you would need to basically do this same check here, but rather than starting here, you would go from the data grid cell, find the type of data grid, grab the first one, parent data grid, and then if parent data grid, stop it, not equal to data grid, return. Right? We don't want to accidentally handle stuff that, like, the idea is we want to handle things inside of our cells, but we don't want to handle nested grids. And I think we do issue 2852. Should spell issue correctly. Don't handle events from nested data grids. Okay. In retrospect, we should probably actually, like, before putting in the fix, we should probably actually write out the failing test first and then put the fix in. That would be better. We'll get around it. Oh, dear heavens. It's still running. Close window. Yeah. I get it. You were unhappy. The process was still running. Apparently, I have done something bad in my XAML test library where my heartbeat is not appropriately dying anymore. I'll have to go look at that. Let's see. Problem with it being called XAML test is at the bottom of the list. Sort the opposite direction. I don't want to scroll all the way down anymore. Okay. Nope. Don't do that. Now launch. We're gonna test this first, just to see. Okay. Disable, run. I think we already knew we were hitting that point. There. That ends up fixing it. Okay. So, it's kind of cheating now that we know that it fixes it. But, come down here. Comment that out for the moment. Okay, let's make this test actually fail. Okay, so we're going to load this up. Let's see. Visual element. Okay, so what we actually want to do is let's grab the checkbox that's, I don't know, second one in, right? So we're gonna make some assumptions, right? So there's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we've got, I mean, we can just grab number 5, I guess. Grab number 5. I don't mind hard coding this too much. User control get element. So element query of type data grid, child of type data grid, child of type checkbox. Let's see, that's going to go data grid. Oh, I guess I'd have to do an index to get the second one. I guess it doesn't matter whether we grab the first one. At index Boom. Or I guess at index 1, we grab the one in the middle. So await my visual element checkbox. Boom. That's a very big query. Find the data grid, find the child of the data grid, find the child of that data grid, that's a checkbox, grab the checkbox at index 1. And return to me. Okay. Let's see. Checkbox. Click. Boom. Wait, and then we'll do something like assert true. Checkbox is checked. Yeah, get is checked. Whatever. Boom. This test should now fail because we've removed the fix. When in doubt, always start with a failing unit test. That way you can verify that your fix actually does it. You really want to go red then green, because if you start green, you actually have no assurances that you've changed anything. Okay, so it failed. I'd like to know that it failed, why it failed. Let's see. Failed to find child element of type data grid. Okay. Let's see. Of type data grid, child of type. I don't want to just pull this query out real quick. Our query, because I know what this should look like, and I just want to make sure that it actually matches what I expect it to look like. Debug test. Because it should be slash datagrid slash checkbox sub 1 slash datagrid slash checkbox sub 1. Okay, so it built up the query as I expected it to. But still fails with the log messages. Getting element, got element, getting element. Interesting. Also noticing that the best and worst thing is it shows this nice log, but I do wish. So it did show the get element at content, did show this one, then got screenshots. So, I mean, let's start with the obvious. I assume so user control get element query 1 var foo. Let's just make sure that we get far enough. I'm a little surprised it didn't find. The drawback of doing two types on data grid is I'm not confident on which one it's going to find. And I could technically just go straight at checkbox because there are no other checkboxes on the oh, I didn't await it. Because there are no other checkboxes on the screen, I could just go checkbox sub whatever, and it'll rip through looking for checkboxes. The problem being is that's not a great, oh, he did not F5 it. That's not a great way of doing it. Oh, I guess I did give them names too. I could hunt them by name. Not a bad idea. Okay. Who got the data grid element? Okay. Oh, poo-poo on you. Gets await food get name. So which data grid did you grab? Because that is the other interesting thing is I don't know which one it's gonna get. It should be the first one. This should be parent data grid. Ah. Oh, the user control is the root data grid. Oh. That's why it's landing. Okay. 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 Actually, we'll call it parent data grid. That's why it's not working. Okay. Okay. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. That's a data grid. So this shouldn't be child of type. It should just be find the elements of type data grid, find the children of it that are a text box, find me the one at index 1. There. That. So 1. Let's just make sure it finds the right element this time. Then we'll kick this off. Wasn't planning on actually fixing this bug all the way, but apparently I am. But I'm out of Mountain Dew, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so that should have done something. Test failed, which is good-ish. Expected true, actual false. So that doesn't tell me much because the guy is topmost in debugging and all of that jazz. So we're gonna run this test without me touching it. That is the drawback with XAML test because it drives the mouse. If it's not on top, it can miss the clicks. Justin Bieber, have a good one. No problem. So it did the click. Click didn't go through. This thing isn't dying. It's very interesting to me that the process is being held on to like that. End task. Wonder if it's that that's biting me. Still running? Yeah. Test Explorer. Die. Because this should allow the click to go through. I'm actually wondering if it's missing. So we're gonna catch it here. Yeah, we'll let the window be topmost. But I want to debug and see. I kind of have a suspicion that that first click isn't actually making it all the way in either. Yeah, so even though it clicked, oh, that is noxious. Coming here. Yeah, I need to chase down whatever bug I have managed to introduce. The apparently I've introduced a bug somewhere on my example test. Oh, and this thing is just straight up hung. Interesting. So it's like the thing is trying to throw an exception, but isn't. Okay. Let's just put the fix in place then. See if that handles it. Because rather than the process hanging and dying, it should actually complete now. Can you create a unit test to catch it, or is that too complicated in this case? Well, it is the hard part with a unit test on something that's doing mouse events is it's very hard to simulate the mouse click without actually having the UI to drive the mouse, which is part of why. Okay, so that worked aside from the fact that it did click. Okay, so just hypothetically, I have a sinking suspicion that if I do this, I have a feeling there's probably two bugs here, and that the first bug is the one reported, and the second bug is the click doesn't go through the first time like it's supposed to. Look at that. That dumb. That hurts. Yeah, that hurts. I'm gonna catch it here though. I guess I can turn this breakpoint off. So the first click is going in. It's just not actually checking the box. And I'm wondering, so we got inside toggle button. The toggle button receives the mouse event directly. But for whatever reason, that doesn't change its state. I'm curious if checkbox does something funky. Let's do this real quick. Source doc. Let's take a look at checkbox. Because our code is, that's forms. Our code is targeting toggle button, which is the derived class. But I'm wondering if checkbox does something different when it receives that event. So there's key down. Nope, it's not doing anything fancy. So toggle button, what do you do when you receive the event? Control is clicked by the mouse with a keyboard. We may want to look at this one. Windows control button. I just want to know who invokes it. Violation. Left mouse button down. Oh, interesting. So it may not trigger the click. So even though we trigger the down, that may not be enough to trigger the click as well. Interesting. So, because this is enough, this feature was added specifically for the text box so that when you click on the cell, it could actually click straight into edit mode rather than it being 2 clicks for the user. Which the default WPF control is 2 clicks, but a more material design feel is a single click. And I'm wondering, if the because this will send the mouse down event all the way in, which, where is it? On left button down. So if the click mode is press, this will trigger. But the checkbox, what is the default click mode? Default click mode is release, not press. And at least in the sample that was given in the issue, there was no default being changed, so it should be release. Now, it's always possible somebody has an implicit style or something outside and they forgot to include it, but capture is taken by the button while it is down and released after the click is fired. So it should attempt to gain capture. Click mode is not hover, but should come into here because it would be release. Handle true, focus. Excuse me. If the button state is pressed. Oh, interesting. I was like, why? How would button state not be pressed if you're in a left mouse button down? But okay, sure. Capture the mouse. Got it. So it attempts to grab focus. If the button's still down, it attempts to pull it. I wonder if it's possible that it's just clicking too quickly during the automation. How quick is this click? By default. I think my click is fairly fast by default. Well, we can delay it. Click time. Time span from seconds. I don't know, 0.5. Make it a real slow click. Just to make sure that if it is timing related, it's got more than enough time to get the mouse down and then back up. That was a very exaggerated half a second. I don't think it would be timing related, but that handling code seems to indicate that what we're doing should work. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go here. Don't attach. Debug. So I want to do a little investigation really quick with Snoop. Okay, so you'll note it moved here and clicked, but one of the things that I'm noticing right away is this guy up here. This guy is still the one with focus. Take a little look-see here. So one of the nice features of Snoop is you can see who has focus. Is this data grid cell, which is this one. So despite the fact that the first click happened here, and if I do a click here, that data grid cell picks up focus. If I do another click here, that was very quick. Interesting. It's really interesting. I am not entirely sure what is happening here. So, events that are relevant, let's just track them. So, we're going to come down here to the mouse. I don't care about keyboard. Mouse down, mouse up. I don't care about preview. I don't care about that either. Okay, so clear all of these. So when I come down here and go click, what happened? Okay, so left mouse button down on the border. This went through. This is the one that our data grid picks up, handles, and then it triggers the same mouse button down handled by the checkbox. So we initiated it. The checkbox handled it, which we expected. Excuse me. Oh, Zero, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Okay, so the left mouse button down was handled by the checkbox, which we expected. And then mouse down on the child data grid. Oh. Handled by child data grid. So we've shot ourselves in the foot. Because we've registered for this bubbling event. So, oh, crap. So this border, and we can see all of the stages that it went through, right? So the click started here on the border, went to the grid, didn't have anything. And I'm watching this tree here on the left. So you can see as we're walking up. So we start on the border didn't handle it, grid didn't handle it. Got to the data grid cell. The data grid cell did handle the left mouse button down. Great. This then proceeds to propagate all the way up. We get ourselves all the way up to the top. And then before we finish, because it gets to the data grid, and then it goes through and triggers off a mouse left button down directly on the checkbox, which is the content inside of the data grid. So that event bubbled all the way up to the data grid. got there. It then triggered the left mouse button down by the checkbox, which then proceeds to bubble right back up. Goes on up, 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 goes up to the data grid. Keeps propagating all the way on up, all the way on up, all the way on up. It's the parent data grid, keeps going all the way up. Okay. Man, this is one of those behavioral things that's going to be a pain in the neck. So the simple solution is we check in the fix without the test, because the test doesn't actually validate it. But from testing, we know it works. And this is so problematic. The fact that this thing has to register for true events, but then doesn't know on the ones it initiates. And is there a way for it to... Is there anything on this event that it could include? Like, there's no extra... Yeah, there's no additional options for setting it, which is really disappointing. Oh, hey Zalek, let me check. Oh, was that the one regarding the PR being open for the website? Because I did send a message off to James after I saw it. So yes, I did see it, and I apologize I didn't reply back to you. But yes, I did see it, and I forwarded it on to James, and so he should have been expecting it. I don't know how long it may take him to review, but sometimes he gets busy on those things, but I did let him know, and I even forwarded him at your branch ahead of time so that if he wanted to take a look at it. From my perspective, it looks great. And I'd be very happy to queue it in. Let me double check because... Oh, I guess I have permissions to merge this. Oh, and thank you for the sub. Let me... All right, real quick. Let me just tag him on the PR as well, and I will do that, and I put my approve on it as well, so that if he may still want to look at it, but hopefully that gets closer to an auto approve. Okay, I think for this one, I am just going to check in the fix and leave off the tests. I think that's the simple option. I don't like it. Hold on. Stash. Let me update master, reset. Yeah. Let's see. Create branch, fix. What's the number? The number I was looking at. Here. 2852. Oh, so I guess one, we can take off the evaluation required. I've definitely evaluated it. Let's see, fix 2852 and pop. Okay, so we are going to not include the tests. I'm going to leave these things around here because I want to look at how to make it easier for people submitting bugs to gen these things up. Fixing issue when data grids are nested. Fixes 2852. That's not a pound. Let's try that again. 2852. Commit. Let's see. And then PR for me, please. Yeah. Do the PRs. Make it so. Create pull request. Then we'll come up here, and then we'll enable auto merge. Huzzah. That should go. Oh, good. The other ones did end up merging. So we'll delete that branch. We should turn on auto deletion of branches. That should be a thing. Why is that not on? It is on. Oh, but auto delete, I don't think can do it from forks, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Let me go into here. I think if you want it to delete from a fork, you actually have to turn that on yourself. Yeah. So I can't remember if having it on in the fork will allow PRs from that fork to automatically get deleted when the PRs are merged. I think it will. We'll find out in a minute. Or actually, probably not, because I'm probably going to call it here in just a few. But this should be, or will be fixed shortly. Did I put my PR in the milestone? Did not. It's bad of me. But that will push that through. Cool. So, assuming the PR builds all work and everything's happy. Apparently, I've got some XAML test stuff to track down to figure out why the heck I've got stray processes floating around. Actually, one quick thought I have. Let me just make sure it's not something stupid like I haven't released my latest version. Because that would be dumb. That would be very, very dumb. We did a bunch of version revs. This would have been the one to go. Yeah, this pushes out preview packages 332. So I just have a bug to fix. And I don't even know how to log it correctly. But I'll take a look at it. I'm probably going to end up bumping out a full release of XAML tests just because at this point it's somewhat stable. I feel like I haven't had to make a ton of changes to it. There are a handful of things that I might want to clean up. There may be some breaking API changes coming, but see how it goes. As far as I'm concerned, I'm probably the chief consumer of it anyway. Let me just look. Is anyone registered as a dependent? Used by. Yeah, so it's used by, at least as far as NuGet.org knows, just me. So I'm okay with breaking just me. But I think with that, I will probably sign off for the night. Tell everyone happy coding, happy Hacktoberfest. We'll see everyone next time. Have a good night.